What's up, Carnahan fam? It's me, Mr. Shrum from Central VPA High School, here to help you out with your trumpet parts on Academic Festival Overture by Johannes Brahms. What I'm going to do for you today is I'm actually going to play the parts for you along with a recording of the piece so that you can hear your part in context. And then what I'll do is I'll kind of go over a few spots that you'll really want to watch out for and practice a little bit more. Alright? So let's get into it, shall we? So let's look at the first trumpet part, okay? First things first is you need to make sure you have your handy dandy straight mute with you, okay? The straight mute looks like this, comes in various different shapes and colors and materials, sometimes made of metal, sometimes like this. This is a vintage straight mute called the Ray Robinson mute. You can get a Humes and Berg straight mute for pretty cheap online or at your local music store. So this straight mute, what it does is it changes the color of our trumpet a little bit. Okay? So we got the straight mute right at the beginning here on a G and an A. Now after that A, Michael Story writes into our arrangement that we need to quickly open, okay? Which means we need to take this straight mute out pretty fast. What you're going to do when you finish playing that A You're going to quickly grab it out, shove it right under your armpit, and be ready to play the next D on beat 4 of the next measure. That straight mute is then going to stay under your armpit until that 3-measure rest at measure 35. At that point, then you can think about grabbing it, setting it down either on a table next to you or on the floor if you're sitting down. This next section here at 15 to 20 to 28 is kind of a very smooth section, so we want to be thinking DAW sounds the whole time. Nice, smooth, consistent flow of air, right? Then we get to measure 29. The style changes a little bit, right? We have staccatos under every note, so we need to play every note nice and short with a detached bit of silence between each note. Ta 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 ta, like this. Like so. The next section at measure 39, we have to really pay attention. It's going to slow down a lot, and it's kind of hard to tell in this recording unless you have a conductor. So you're going to have to really listen to it. You're going to have to really practice with the recording a few times if you're not going to have a conductor. This next section is once again very smooth, okay? And we, as the trumpets, get to hold the melody, okay? Very beautiful stuff. The next section, 2 before 53, we see it changes back to Allegro moderato, which is our original tempo from the beginning. Okay, so think about the beginning of the song so that right when you're there, you're ready to just go. So Mr. Shrum messes up a little bit. Don't we all? It's okay. Good. Watch at 61 as we switch to a 2/4 time feel, right? 1, 2, 1, 2. So when you get to 61, right, we play B, B flat, A, right at 61. 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2. You got to count diligently here because the music can be a little confusing if you're not counting. 79. We have some distinctions here, okay? Whenever you have eighth notes, we see staccatos under the notes. Whenever you have quarter notes, we see long lines, which are called tenutos. The staccatos mean short and detached. The tenutos mean long and together. Okay, so we have to make that designation between those two notes as we're playing them, like so. And then it slows down quite a bit, probably more than I just did right now, to get to measure 90. Maestoso, right? You can really understand what maestoso means if you say it that way. Maestoso, okay? So that means we're going to slow it down quite a bit. We're going to play nice and broad and regally, okay? We're going to kind of play like that for the rest of the song. All right? Be very careful, especially when you get to measure 102, that after you play that D, you're ready to go up to that B flat and you don't accidentally play an F instead. You got to make sure you're going just a little bit higher. That's a jump of an interval that we call a sixth. Okay, it's kind of a big jump, so we got to make sure that we get. If you don't use enough air, you could accidentally play. And that's not correct, right? We got to make sure we go up to that B flat. And then the ending at 106, we're basically being timpani on the trumpets. Okay, so have a nice percussive hit at the beginning of each note with a little bit of decay and sound between each one. Okay? And that's the trumpet 1 part for you. Stay tuned for trumpet 2. So let's talk about the trumpet 2 part, shall we? First up, you need to have your handy dandy straight mute ready at the very beginning of the piece. Your first 2 notes at measure 7 are going to be used with that straight mute, okay? So make sure during that first 6 bars that you're counting, you get that straight mute into your trumpet nice and well so it won't fall out, and be ready to play the E and the F sharp. After you get done playing those notes, quickly just go ahead and take that mute right back out and set it down in a convenient place. And make sure you're ready to count your rests. At 15 we have 10 measures of rests, of course, and then we come in on a D, okay? Make sure we play that note right. hold it out at that one volume for the first 2 whole notes, and then you see on that 3rd whole note, we're going to crescendo all the way up to measure 28. In measure 29, we have D's and E flats, and they're supposed to be nice and short. Okay, so make sure there's some space in between both of those. So we want to make sure that we got nice, even space in between each one of those notes so that they're separated, which is why the staccato is written there. When we get to 39, it's going to slow down quite a bit to the andante section. It's kind of hard to figure out where this starts because you might not have a conductor. All you're going to do is hear this piece, right? One thing you can do to make yourself a little bit better is notice that there is a trumpet note in the trumpet 1 part right before we come in. The trumpet 1 plays a D, and then we come in, right? The trumpet 1 goes... So we need to listen to that D, do, and then be ready to come in with our part. Now this part of 39, the andante section, is very smooth, okay? Every note has got a line written under it. We call that the tenuto marking. And tenuto means nice and smooth. We're going to use a daw articulation, daw. Nice and smooth, good flow of air the entire time. Make sure that you slur when it says to slur, and a tongue with that daw tongue when it says to tongue. All right? 2 before 53, we move to the Allegro Moderato section, which is actually just the same tempo as the very beginning of the piece. So kind of have the beginning of the piece playing in your mind, right? Hear those woodwinds going because that's pretty much what you're going to try to capture when you get there. Nice and short, nice and detached again. As we get to our section here at, wow, I can't read, 61. At 61, we switch to a 2/4 time signature, so make sure you're counting your rests in 2, okay? Here's right before 61. 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 2. You have to make sure that you're counting very meticulously here. The music is going to try to confuse you. Don't try to rely on your ear. You must count the rests here, or else you won't come in time. Okay? Looking now at the pickups to 79, we got a mixture of short notes and long notes, right? We have some staccato markings, the dots, and tenuto markings, the lines. Every 8th note has a staccato marking, so we're going to play those short and detached. And every quarter note has a tenuto marking, nice and long and together, or attached, right? There's detached and there's attached, right? Detached, they don't touch. Attached, they do. So here's 79. It's going to be a big slowdown there, so make sure you practice this a few times before you try to record yourself playing it so that you can get really used to what that slowdown is going to feel like. Now, we get to measure 90, maestoso section. To understand maestoso, you need to say it that way. You need to say, maestoso. Everybody say it, maestoso. Maestoso means nice and loud, strong, regal, and kind of slower. Okay, so we're going to play this nice and slow, nice and strong, and nice and regal. And then same thing as we go to the end. Okay, so make sure that you're playing everything nice and loud, regal, not too loud, of course. We never want to be too loud, but strong, right? There's a difference. We should say strong, not loud. And so we're just going to play to the end just like that. Same thing, all of your eighth notes have staccatos on them, so make sure they're detached. And all the quarter notes have accents on them, which means we're going to kind of hit them strong at the beginning of the note and then let the volume decay just slightly, kind of like we're a timpani drum. Okay, so at the end, we're pretty much acting as a timpani drum. So here's measure 106. So that's the trumpet 2 part for you. Thank you.